Mama, shh.
If anybody calls your name tonight, do not answer.
What?
Not from the window, not from the door. I don't care whose voice you hear. Do not answer.
Mama, you're really scaring me.
I know.
Then tell me why. Mama, why are your hands shaking? Mama, what happens at midnight?
There is something I should have told you years ago.
What?
Mama, tell me.
Not 17.
What did you say?
You are 18.
No, my birthday is tomorrow. That is the birthday I gave everybody. The real one is tonight.
Because for 72 years, every firstborn daughter in Umuora who reached 18 had vanished. Some disappeared from locked bedrooms, some disappeared while sleeping beside their mothers. One girl vanished from a crowded birthday party. Not one of them was ever found. 31 years earlier, Ijeoma's own sister had disappeared the same way. So when Amara was born, Ijeoma did something nobody had ever tried. She changed her daughter's age. Her birth papers said 17, her school records said 17, even the church register said 17. And at midnight, nothing happened. 12:01, Amara was still there. Ijeoma covered her face and began to cry. It worked! Amara looked at her. What worked? Before Ijeoma could answer, a scream tore through the compound next door. Urenna! Another scream followed. My daughter! Somebody help me! Ijeoma ran to the window. Her face changed because Urenna was also a firstborn daughter. But Urenna was 17 years old, not 18. She still had 4 months before her 18th birthday. Yet 7 minutes after Amara survived the night she was supposed to disappear, Urenna vanished instead. And by morning, someone had changed Urenna's official age from 17 to 18. That was the moment Ijeoma began to understand something terrifying. Maybe no spirit had been taking their daughters at all.
The scream came again. Urenna! Ijeoma was already moving toward the door when Amara grabbed her arm. Mama, you said we must not go outside. That was before somebody else's child disappeared. Ijeoma pulled up on the door. The whole compound was awake. Lights came on, doors opened, men and women rushed from their houses still wearing their night clothes. And from the house next door came the sound of a mother crying, Urenna! Urenna! Ijeoma and Amara ran inside. Nkem stood beside her daughter's empty bed. Her entire body was shaking. My daughter was here, she pointed at the bed. She was here beside me. Urenna's slippers were still on the floor. Her phone was charging beside the bed. The window was closed. The door had been locked, but Urenna was gone. Ijeoma slowly looked at the clock. 12:07. 7 minutes. Only 7 minutes had passed since Amara turned 18 and remained inside her house. Then a deep voice came from behind them. Everybody moved back. Chief Nwafor entered the room. Ijeoma turned, and immediately something felt wrong. Chief Nwafor lived almost 15 minutes away, yet somehow, 7 minutes after Urenna disappeared, he was already standing inside her bedroom. And Chief Nwafor had not come alone. Beside him stood Elder Ezenwa, the man responsible for keeping Umuora's birth records, and 2 other village elders. Chief Nwafor looked once at the empty bed. Then he said, calmly, the spirit has chosen. Nkem stared at him. Then she shouted, no! Everybody turned. My daughter is 17. The room became silent. Chief Nwafor slowly looked at her. Are you certain? Nkem's face changed. Certain? She stepped toward him. I gave birth to her. Elder Ijeoma adjusted his glasses. She may have been registered late. Nkem shook her head immediately. No, Urenna will be 18 in 4 months. There was no mistake, no confusion. Urenna was 17. Everybody close to that family knew it. And yet, Chief Nwafor did not look surprised. Instead, his eyes moved across the room and stopped on Amara. How old are you now? Amara opened her mouth, but Ijeoma answered first. 17. The chief looked at her, then at Amara. He held that stare for several uncomfortable seconds, and finally he said, "We will check the records in the morning." Then he turned and walked away. But Ijeoma watched him leave, with one question burning inside her mind. Why did Chief Nwafor seem more interested in Amara than the girl who had just disappeared?
The moment they returned home, Amara closed the door. Then she turned to her mother. "Stop lying." Amara froze. "What?" "You heard me." Amara's eyes were already wet. "Stop lying to me." "Amara, you told me before midnight that I'm 18. Then Chief Nwafor asked my age and you told him I'm 17. Keep your voice down." "No." Amara stepped closer. "You changed my birth certificate." Amara said nothing. "My school records too?" Silence. "Even the church register?" Amara looked away. That was answer enough. Amara's voice dropped. "Why?" Ijeoma slowly sat down. Her eyes moved toward an old photograph hanging above the television. 2 young girls stood together in it. One was Ijeoma. She was only 9. The older girl beside her was smiling. "That was my sister," Ijeoma said. Amara looked at the photograph. "Ngozi?" Ijeoma nodded. Ngozi was the firstborn daughter in our family. Her voice became quieter. She was 18 when she disappeared. Amara said nothing. "It happened 31 years ago. We slept in the same room that night." Amara swallowed. "Our mother locked the door herself." She looked back at the photograph. When morning came, Ngozi was gone. Amara slowly sat beside her. Did they search for her? Everywhere. Ijeoma gave a sad laugh that carried no happiness. "Our mother nearly lost her mind. She walked to 3 neighboring villages. She searched farms. She checked the river. She entered abandoned houses people were afraid to enter." Ijeoma's eyes filled with tears. "For months, she refused to lock our gate at night. Why? She believed Ngozi might come home." Amara looked down. "But she never did?" "No." Ijeoma wiped her cheek. "The elders told my mother to stop looking. They said you cannot fight what the spirits have chosen." Amara looked back at the photograph. "And you believed them?" Ijeoma turned to her daughter. "I believed one thing." Her voice became firm. "If I ever had a firstborn daughter, nobody was taking her from me." Then she finally told Amara everything. When Amara was born, Ijeoma changed the year. She changed the documents. She repeated the false birthday so many times that eventually even Amara believed it. To everybody in Umuora, Amara was 17, but in truth, she had turned 18 that night. Amara stared at her mother for a long moment. "You lied to me for 18 years. I was trying to keep you alive." Amara shook her head. "But you don't even know if it worked." Ijeoma went silent because Amara was right. Her daughter had survived, but another girl had vanished instead. And for the first time in 18 years, Ijeoma began wondering whether her plan saved Amara or placed Urenna in danger. By 8 the next morning, almost everyone in Umuora had gathered at the village square. Ijeoma and Amara arrived in fresh clothes and stood near the back. At the front was Chief Nwafor. Beside him stood Elder Ijeoma, and on the table between them was the village birth register. Chief Nwafor raised his hand. The murmuring stopped.
The records have been checked. He looked around the square. Urenna was 18. Nkem pushed through the crowd. That is a lie. People turned toward her. Elder Ijeoma opened the register. There is the record. Nkem rushed toward the table. That is not the year I gave you. Chief Noafo frowned. Nkem? My daughter is 17. Her voice cracked. I know when I gave birth to my own child. Ijeoma stepped closer to the register. Then she noticed something. The number beside Urenna's name was darker than the rest of the writing. Fresh ink. Amara saw it too. Mama? Ijeoma leaned forward. Underneath the new number, part of the original one was still visible. Her stomach tightened. Someone had changed Urenna's year of birth. The girl had not suddenly become 18. Someone had deliberately made the record say she was 18. Amara pointed at the edge of the correction. 2 small initials were written there. E.E. Her eyes moved slowly toward Elder Ijeoma. You changed it. Ijeoma's face went pale. I corrected an error. Nkem almost laughed. What error? Ijeoma looked toward Chief Noafo. That tiny movement did not escape Ijeoma. Nkem shouted again, My daughter is 17. Chief Noafo suddenly shut the register. The matter is settled. No! Ijeoma's voice cut through the square. Everyone turned. Ijeoma stepped forward. That number was changed. Chief Noafo stared at her. Be careful, Ijeoma. Urenna is 17. Whispers moved through the crowd. The chief stepped closer. Sometimes a mother does not know everything written about her child. Ijeoma held his stare. And sometimes an elder knows too much. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then Chief Noafo smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Take your daughter home. By afternoon, the entire village had heard a new version of the story. Amara had escaped the night meant for her. And because she escaped, the spirit had taken Urenna instead. Women whispered outside Ijeoma's compound. That girl should have gone. She has brought trouble. What if another daughter disappears? Amara heard every word. She went into her room and locked the door. Ijeoma stood alone in the sitting room, wondering how quickly fear could turn neighbors against one another. Then, something slid beneath the front door. Ijeoma looked down. An envelope. No name, no message. She opened it. A photograph fell into her hand. 3 women stood beside a small garden. 2 were strangers, but the third, Ijeoma stopped breathing. Same eyes, same forehead, and above the woman's left eyebrow, the same small scar. Ngozi! Amara came out of her room. Mama! Ijeoma could barely hear her. She turned the photograph over. There was a date printed behind it. 6 months ago. Her sister had disappeared 31 years earlier, but Ngozi was alive. Then Ijeoma noticed the handwritten words beneath the date. She read them once, then again. If Amara survived, the door is open. And suddenly, Urenna's disappearance was no longer the only mystery in Umuora. Amara took the photograph from her mother's shaking hand. Mama, who is this? Ijeoma could barely speak. My sister. Amara looked at the woman again. She was much older than the girl in the photograph above their television, but the eyes were the same. The forehead was the same, and above her left eyebrow was the same little scar. Ngozi? Ijeoma nodded. Amara turned the photograph over. The date said it had been taken only 6 months earlier. Then she read the message again. If Amara survived, the door is open. Amara looked at her mother. What door? I don't know. Who sent this? I don't know. Then Amara suddenly frowned. Mama. What? The women outside. Ijeoma looked toward the window. What about them? They said I escaped the night meant for me. Ijeoma went still. Amara lowered her voice. How do they know I'm 18? That question hit harder than the photograph, because every official record in Umuora said Amara was 17. Her school record said 17, the church register said 17, even the village register said 17. Only Ijeoma knew the truth, or at least she thought she was the only one. I never told anybody, Ijeoma said. Amara stared at her. Nobody? Ijeoma hesitated. Then she remembered one person. Mama Ngunka Nwakaigo. Who? The woman who delivered you. They left immediately. Mama Nwakaigo lived at the far end of Umuora. She was 76 now and had stopped delivering babies many years earlier. When Ijeoma and Amara reached her house, the old woman was sitting outside sorting dried leaves. She looked up. Then she saw Amara. Her hand stopped. You survived. Amara looked at her mother. Ijeoma stepped forward. You know her real age? Mama Nwakaigo sighed. I was there when she entered this world. Ijeoma did not waste time. Did you tell Chief Nwafo? The old woman's eyes hardened. I kept your secret for 18 years. Then how does he know? Mama Nwakaigo stood slowly. Come inside. She pulled an old metal box from under her bed. Inside were notebooks filled with names and dates. These are my delivery books, she said. Every child I helped bring into this village. I wrote their real date before anybody made official papers. She opened one notebook, then stopped. A page was missing. Not damaged, not loose, torn out. Ijeoma leaned closer. What was on that page? Mama Nwakaigo looked directly at Amara. Your birth. Amara's face changed. What? 3 weeks ago, somebody entered my room while I was at the market. She touched the torn edge. They took only one page. Ijeoma whispered, Amara's. And suddenly, Chief Nwafo's strange question from the night before made sense. How old are you now? He had not been asking because he did not know. He was checking whether Ijeoma would lie. Amara stepped closer to the notebook. So they knew I was turning 18? Mama Nwakaigo nodded. Then why did they take Urenna? The old woman opened another book. She found Urenna's name. Her finger rested on the date. Because Urenna is exactly what her mother said. She looked up. 17. Amara swallowed. 4 months before 18? Yes. Ijeoma felt sick. So someone changed Urenna's village record because they needed everybody to believe she was 18. Mama Nwakaigo closed the notebook. And you still think a spirit is doing this? Neither of them answered. The old woman looked at Amara. For the first time, the mystery felt different. Maybe they had never been fighting a curse. Maybe someone had been choosing the girls. Amara quickly reached into her bag, the photograph. She handed it to Mama Nwakaigo. The old woman looked at Ngozi. Her expression changed immediately. Where did you get this? Someone pushed it under our door. Mama Nwakaigo studied the picture again. Then she pointed behind the 3 women. A low stone wall, red flowers, and a strange wooden pole with 3 carved circles. I know this place. Ijeoma moved closer. Where? Beyond Oji Hill. Amara frowned. Are there houses there? Mama Nwakaigo looked at her. Not according to the elders. Then she told them something she had noticed for years. Every second Friday, before sunrise, several older women quietly left Umuora carrying baskets. Rice, dried fish, soap, medicine, clothes. And they always walked towards Oji Hill. They say they are going to pray, Mama Nwakaigo said. Then she looked at them. But prayers do not need bags of rice. Before sunrise the next morning, Ijeoma and Amara waited behind an old cassava shed. 4 women appeared. Each carried a heavy basket. They followed them, past the farms, across a narrow stream, up the rocky path towards Oji Hill. The women reached a wall of thick bushes and disappeared. Amara whispered, "They're gone." Ijeoma narrowed her eyes. "No?" She pointed. "Look, Hidden behind the leaves was a narrow opening between two enormous rocks. The women had gone through it. Ijeoma took Amara's hand, and together they followed.
The passage between the rocks was longer than they expected. Then suddenly, daylight appeared ahead. Ijeoma stepped through first and stopped. Amara almost walked into her. "Mama?" Ijeoma could not answer. There were houses, real houses, small gardens, cooking fires, clothes hanging on lines, children running between the buildings. And everywhere they looked, there were women. Young women, middle-aged women, old women, dozens of them. One woman carried water, another sat outside braiding a child's hair. A younger woman walked past holding vegetables. Amara stared. "These women live here?" Ijeoma said nothing, because something much bigger was beginning to form in her mind. These women were not ghosts. They were alive. Then a woman stepped from one of the houses. She looked about 49, medium brown skin, shoulder-length twists with a few strands of gray, high cheekbones, deep brown eyes. Ijeoma stared at her. Then she saw it. Above her left eyebrow, a small scar. Her knees almost gave way. "Ngozi?" The woman stopped. The basket in her hand slipped to the ground. For several seconds, she simply stared. Then tears filled her eyes. "Little sister." Ijeoma ran. 31 years of grief disappeared in one embrace. She held Ngozi so tightly that neither woman could speak. Amara stood behind them, crying. She had grown up hearing about an aunt who vanished at 18. Now that aunt was standing in front of her, alive. But then Amara remembered something. "Urenna." She stepped forward. "Auntie Ngozi?" Ngozi slowly pulled away from Ijeoma. "Yes?" "Where is Urenna?" Ngozi's frowned. "Who?" "The girl who disappeared last night." Ngozi's face changed. Ngozi took a slow breath, then looked toward the narrow passage behind them. The girls were never taken by spirits. Amara stared at her. Ngozi's voice became lower. They were taken by men. Ijeoma felt cold. "What men?" Ngozi's eyes hardened. "The same men your village has been calling spirits for 72 years.
"Who is there?" The voice came from behind the houses. Ngozi's face changed instantly. "Hide!" She grabbed Ijeoma's arm and pushed her toward the side of a small storage hut. "Amara, quickly!" Amara followed. The two women crouched behind stacked baskets and thick plants, while Ngozi picked up the vegetables that had fallen from her basket. Heavy footsteps came closer. A man appeared between the houses. He was tall and broad, dressed in dark trousers and a brown shirt. A whistle hung around his neck. He looked around slowly. "Ngozi?" "Yes?" I heard voices. Ngozi kept her face calm. Some of the women were talking. The guard looked past her. His eyes moved toward the storage hut. Ijeoma held Amara's hand tightly. Neither of them breathed properly. Then the guard noticed a fresh footprint in the soft earth. He frowned. "Whose foot is that?" Ngozi looked down. "One of the women who brought supplies this morning." The guard stared at her. Then he started walking toward the hut. Amara's heart began pounding. One more step and they would see them. Then another guard shouted from across the settlement, "Chike, they are counting to women." The man stopped. He looked at Ngozi again. "Stay where you are supposed to stay." Then he turned and walked away. Ngozi waited until his footsteps disappeared. Only then did she whisper, "Come out." Ijeoma and Amara stepped from behind the hut. Ijeoma looked toward the guard. "You are prisoners." Ngozi gave a sad smile. "What did you think we were?" Ijeoma looked around again. The gardens, the children, the cooking fires, the colorful houses. But now she noticed what she had missed. Men stood at the edges of the settlement. A tall fence disappeared behind the trees. One woman stopped walking whenever a guard passed. Another lowered her eyes immediately. This was not simply a hidden village. It was a treason pretending to be a home. Ngozi leaned closer. You cannot stay here. They count us morning and evening. When can we talk? Tonight. Where? Leave the way you came. Stay near Oji Hill. Ngozi lowered her voice. Come back at midnight. The guards change positions around then. Amara looked worried. What if they see us? Ngozi looked directly at her. Then you may never leave. Ijeoma and Amara left through the rock passage. They spent the rest of the day hidden among thick bushes near Oji Hill. Neither wanted to return to Umuora without answers. By midnight, they went back. Ngozi was waiting. She led them quickly between two houses and into an old storage room. There was only one small lantern inside. Ngozi closed the door. Then she looked at them. How did you find this place? Ijeoma explained quickly. The photograph, the red flowers, the carved wooden pole, Mamang Wakaigo, and the older women carrying food toward Oji Hill. Ngozi stared at them. You followed those women here? Yes. Ngozi slowly sat down. You don't understand. What? We did not know we were near Umuora. Amara frowned. How could you not know? When they take a girl, they cover her eyes before she leaves the village. Ngozi touched her face as if she could still feel the cloth. They keep her blindfolded for days. Days? Ijeoma asked. Ngozi nodded. They move us around. Sometimes inside vehicles, sometimes we stop for hours, then we move again. Amara understood first. They make you think you traveled very far. Exactly. Ngozi looked toward the closed door. Most women here believe they were taken to another state. Some think we are hundreds of kilometers from home. Ijeoma whispered, but Umuora is just beyond that hill. Ngozi looked at her. I know that now. Then she shook her head. For 31 years, I didn't.
Silence filled the small room. Then, Ijeoma asked the question she had waited 31 years to ask. Why? Ngozi looked at her and began. 72 years ago, there was a woman named Madam Agbonma. Agbonma was one of the wealthiest landowners in Umuora. She owned palm farms, farmland, large pieces of land near the river, and beneath some of that land were valuable natural deposits that outsiders wanted. Agbonma discovered that some village leaders were secretly selling community land and keeping the money. Chief Nwafor's grandfather was one of them. Agbonma had daughters, no sons. Before she died, she helped establish an agreement protecting family land. Under that agreement, once the firstborn child became an adult, that child gained a legal voice over major family land decisions, and adulthood began at 18. Amara leaned forward. So that is why 18 matters? Yes. And why firstborn daughters matter? Ngozi nodded. Yes. The first girl they took was the first person who threatened their plan. She had turned 18. She discovered that land belonging to her family was about to be sold. She refused to approve it. So Nwafor's grandfather had her taken. It was meant to happen once, but her mother would not stop searching. She questioned the chief. She searched neighboring villages. She threatened to involve people from outside Umuora. Nwafor's grandfather needed something powerful enough to make her stop. So he invented a story. A spirit had taken her daughter. Then he told the village that firstborn daughters belonged to that spirit once they turned 18. People became afraid. The mother was told she could not fight what the spirit had chosen, and eventually she stopped searching. Ijeoma whispered, So one kidnapping became a curse? Yes. Ngozi's face hardened. And then they discovered how useful that curse was. Whenever another firstborn daughter became old enough to challenge a land decision, she could disappear. The family would cry, the elders would blame the spirit, and the men kept control of the land. Amara looked around the storage room. But that still doesn't explain all these women. Ngozi nodded. No. Then her voice changed.
because greed changed too. Nwaofor's father inherited the secret, but land was not enough for him. He realized something terrible. Once a girl disappeared, nobody expected to see her again. Nobody searched far away. Most families did not even push the police because they believed a spirit was responsible. The girls had been erased without being declared dead. So he began selling some of them. Ngozi said. Ijeoma stared at her. Selling? To people outside this area. Ngozi's voice remained controlled. Some became servants, some were forced into marriages, some were taken so far away that we never heard from them again. Amara covered her mouth. And the women here? Some could not be moved safely, some knew too much. Ngozi paused. And some were kept for another business. Ijeoma frowned. What business? Ngozi looked at them. Babies. The room went silent. She did not explain it in detail. She didn't need to. Men connected to the network were brought here. Some younger women were forced to become pregnant. When children were born, some were taken away and sold through people outside Umuora. Amara's eyes filled with tears. The children we saw outside, some were born here. Ijeoma felt sick. And when the women became older, they stayed. Why? Ngozi gave a bitter smile. Because we are evidence. She looked toward the door. If they release us, 72 years of lies walk back into Umuora. That one sentence explained everything. The settlement, the guards, the supplies, the old women, the children. The lie became too large to bury. So they buried the women.
Ijeoma looked at her sister. Why didn't you ever escape? Ngozi became quiet. Then she said, I tried. Ijeoma froze. Twice. The first time, they caught me near the outer fence. Ngozi swallowed. The second time, Nwaofor's father came himself. What did he do? Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. He told me if I tried again, they would take my little sister next. Ijeoma stopped breathing. Me? Ngozi reached across the table and held her hand. I stayed because I thought staying might keep you safe. Ijeoma began to cry. For 31 years, she had believed her sister simply vanished. Now she understood something even harder. Ngozi had remained trapped partly because of her. Amara wiped her eyes. Then her expression suddenly changed. Urenna. Ngozi looked at her. What about her? You said nobody brought her here. Ngozi sat back. Then she remembered something. I heard 2 guards talking this morning. Ijeoma leaned forward. What did they say? They were talking about a replacement. Amara's stomach dropped. Me. Ngozi slowly nodded. Now the pieces connected. Chief Nwaofor knew Amara was truly 18. Someone had stolen her original birth page. She was the girl they expected to take. But something had gone wrong. Ijeoma had stayed awake. She had watched her daughter. Amara had survived midnight. So they needed another girl. Urenna. 17 years old. 4 months away from 18. An emergency replacement. That was why Elder Ezenwa changed her record. They needed the village to believe the curse had worked. Ijeoma stood quickly. Where did they take her? Ngozi's expression became serious. The guard said Urenna would not be brought here. Amara stepped closer. Then where? There's an old palm processing warehouse near the main road. Ijeoma stared at her. What happens there? Ngozi stood too. If Urenna is there, they are not planning to keep her. What does that mean? Ngozi looked directly at Amara. It means somebody is already waiting for her. Amara went pale. Ijeoma moved toward the door. We have to go. Ngozi stopped her. Listen to me. Her voice became urgent. If they are using the warehouse, they will move her before daylight. Ijeoma looked toward the small window. The night was already moving. They only had hours left. Ngozi opened the door carefully and checked outside. Then she turned back toward them. And if Urenna is taken out of Umuora before sunrise, you may never find her again.
Ijeoma stood. Then we go now. No one argued. Ngozi led them through the dark passage and toward the old palm processing warehouse near the main road. By the time they reached it, the sky was beginning to change. A vehicle was parked outside. Its engine was running. Amara's heart dropped. They're moving her. Ngozi pointed toward a smaller door behind the building. There. They moved quietly through the tall grass. 2 guards were near the front, loading bags into the vehicle. Ngozi knew the warehouse. Years earlier, women had sometimes passed through it before being taken away. She led Ijeoma and Amara around the back. The small door was unlocked. Inside, they heard crying. Amara stopped. Urenna? The crying stopped. Then a weak voice answered. Amara? They followed the sound. Urenna was sitting inside a small room. She looked frightened and exhausted, but she was alive. Amara rushed to her. Urenna! Urenna grabbed her tightly. Why did they take me? Amara could not answer. Ijeoma did. Because they failed to take my daughter. Urenna slowly looked at Amara. Then voices sounded outside. Ngozi turned toward the door. We have to leave. They slipped through the back and disappeared into the trees before the guards realized Urenna was gone. They had barely reached the road when a man stepped from behind a parked motorcycle. Ijeoma stopped. Elder Ezenwa. Amara immediately moved in front of Urenna. You! Ezenwa raised both hands. I am not here to stop you. He was carrying an old leather bag. Ngozi stared at him. Then why are you here? Ezenwa looked toward the warehouse. Because if you are going after Nwafo, shouting will not be enough. He opened the bag. Inside was a thick ledger. I kept another record. Ijeoma frowned. Another record? The one Nwafo never knew about. He opened it. Names, dates, land transfers, payments, women who disappeared, women moved outside Umuora. Besides some names were numbers and destinations. Amara felt sick. Ezenwa lowered his eyes. I changed Urenna's age. Urenna stared at him. You made me 18? Yes. Why? His voice broke. Because I was told to. Ijeoma stepped closer. And you obeyed. Ezenwa nodded. For years, I told myself I was only writing what others told me to write. He looked down at the ledger. But every number I changed helped destroy a family. Ngozi looked at him. Will you say that in front of everybody? Ezenwa took a long breath. Yes.
At sunrise, Chief Nwafo called Umuora to the village square. By then, the story had already spread. The spirit was angry. Amara had escaped, and more firstborn daughters could disappear. Nwafo stood before the frightened villagers in his cream senator attire, red cap and coral beads. He lifted one hand. The old warning was ignored. Until this village makes peace with the spirit, no firstborn daughter is safe. Then a voice came from the back. There is no spirit. The crowd turned. Ijeoma walked into the square. Nwafo's face changed. You! Ijeoma kept walking. For 72 years, your family has been lying to this village. People began murmuring. Nwafor gave a short laugh. Ha! Grief has confused you. My sister is alive. The square went silent. Nwafor's smile disappeared. Ijeoma pointed at him. You took them. Your father took them. And your grandfather started it. Enough! Nwafor struck his walking stick against the ground. Take her away! 2 guards began walking toward Ijeoma. Then a woman's voice came from behind the crowd. Then take me too. Everybody turned. Ngozi stood on the road. An elderly woman in the crowd dropped her basket. Ngozi? Another woman appeared behind her. Then another and another. Women began walking toward the square. Young women, middle-aged women, elderly women, dozens of them. The village exploded. People shouted names. Brothers pushed through the crowd. Old mothers cried. Women recognized childhood friends they had mourned for years. Some of the returning women were crying too. Others simply stood there, staring at homes they had not seen in decades. Nwafor stepped backward. No! He pointed toward them. Do not believe your eyes. The spirit can wear familiar faces. Then another voice spoke. Am I a spirit too? Nwafor turned. Urenna stood beside Amara. Nkem screamed, My daughter! She ran through the crowd and held Urenna tightly. For several seconds, neither could speak. Nkem touched her daughter's face again and again. You're alive! Urenna looked toward the villagers. Her voice shook at first, then became stronger. I am 17. The square became completely silent. 4 months from now, I will be 18. Everybody looked at Nwafor. There was no spirit standing before them. There was no 18th birthday curse. There was only a 17-year-old girl who had been taken by people. The 72-year lie was breaking in public, and this time, nobody could put it back together.
Elder Ezenwa stepped forward. Nwafor's eyes widened. Ezenwa, keep quiet. For the first time, Ezenwa did not obey. He raised the ledger. I changed her age. Gasps moved through the crowd. And I changed other records too. He opened the book. These are the real names, the land deals, the payments, the women who were taken. Nwafor moved toward him, but then engines were heard outside the square. Vehicles entered Umuora. Police officers and government officials from the nearby town stepped out. Nkem had sent word as soon as Urenna was rescued. Nwafor looked around. Ngozi, the missing women, Urenna, Ezenwa, the ledger. For the first time in his life, he had no story left. The officers took him away with the guards and others involved. Ezenwa went too. His confession did not erase what he had done, but at least, for once, he had told the truth. Months passed. The hidden settlement was emptied. The fence came down. Some women returned to families that were still alive. Some returned to homes where their parents had already died. And some had nobody waiting for them at all. So, Umuora helped them begin again. Investigators started searching for the women who had been taken far away. The stolen land deals were frozen and reviewed, and Ngozi moved close to Ijeoma. 31 lost years could never be returned, but the sisters could still have tomorrow. Then, Amara turned 19. For the first time in 72 years, the village celebrated the birthday of a firstborn daughter without anybody being afraid of the clock. There was music, food, laughter. Firstborn daughters danced openly in the village square. Urenna danced beside Amara. Nkem laughed with tears in her eyes. Mama Nwakaego sat nearby smiling, and Ngozi sat beside Ijeoma. Amara looked at her mother. Your lie saved me. Ijeoma smiled. Then she looked around at the women who had finally come home. No. Brief pause. The truth saved all of you. For 72 years, Umuora feared a spirit that never existed. The real curse was greed, and silence protected it. But one mother changed a date. One daughter survived the night meant for her, and that small lie gave the truth enough time to come out. Sometimes, the most dangerous traditions survive for one simple reason: nobody remembers who benefited when the tradition began. And this story reminds us of something important. Never be afraid to question a tradition that causes pain. Silence can protect evil for years, but one brave person speaking the truth can change everything. Now, tell me honestly, if you were Ijeoma, would you have lied about your daughter's age to save her? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. If this story kept you watching until the end, please like the video, subscribe to African Tales by Ebe, and turn on your notifications for more powerful African stories. And remember, sometimes one person refusing to stay silent is all it takes to break a curse that was never a curse at all.